Hey, citizens of the future, citizen of the future here. And as you guys know, I'm a researcher following the blockchain and DLT revolution base. Today's video is how blockchain and DLT is revolutionizing industries around the world. Hope you guys enjoy the conversations in this podcast, and let's get started. Let's go.
Okay, here we go, people. Hello. Okay, guys, so I think we're good to start this off here. So welcome, everyone. I'm glad you guys could make it today. Today's utility space is a special one. We're going to just focus on talking about the benefits to blockchain and DLT in multiple industries. And none of this is financial advice. We're just talking with experience, and we brought a special guest on here today, Ascend Data Tech, a new startup, and we'll get him to he's a builder on multiple blockchains and provides solutions to connect companies to their real world data that's used in processes along the chain. Yeah, so we'll get Nathan Ascend, if you want to introduce yourself here, and we'll go from there.
Perfect. All right. Thank you very much. So first of all, thank you for having me. It's a really, really neat space that we're in right now, and it's nice to see people as excited about it as me. So this is awesome. I'm Nathan Field, the founder of Ascend Data Tech, a startup that I created a few months ago now. When my son was born. So, I'm crazy, but I figured it's just such an opportune time to jump onto this technology that I can't pass it up. So Ascend Data Tech is really, I would say, at the ground floor, the glue between all different types of assets and the blockchain. And, we're not partial to any one blockchain or any one device. I've been talking with, the guys, and just super interested about this space. And I'm really, really looking forward to, listening in, getting some questions answered, and then also really trying to explain what I'm doing and where I see the future. So good stuff.
Damn right. So that's Nathan from Ascend Tech, and now Tokenizer. This is another co-host that I always do these utility spaces with. Let's introduce yourself, Token, so everyone can be aware.
All right. Hey, guys. It's Tokenizer here again. Just want to thank you guys all for taking the time to hop into the space again. We're on our third one this week, and we're going to keep seeing how much longer we can do this, talking about different aspects of this blockchain and DLT space every week. And this week, we're really happy to have Nathan with us, someone who actually works and develops in this space, talking about the disruption and why these businesses have such demand to begin moving over into this space.
Heck yeah. So the first thing that we want to talk about is Nathan had a couple points
to get your guys' brain thinking here on why blockchain isn't right for all applications. So Nathan, I'm going to hand this off to you, and yeah.
Perfect. Yeah. So these questions, it's funny to start my spiel with. This is why it maybe isn't necessarily right for you, but it's important. And I would say one of the most important aspects of it is because we're in such a new space right now, businesses don't know why they may need blockchain, or maybe they keep hearing that they need it, but they're like, okay, but why, right? Where's the ROI on it? Why is it worth the investment and, the time and the monetary investments, right? And I think a lot of us too, as people in the space, are kind of thinking the same thing, right? You're either blockchain's the answer, or it's almost you're trying to fit a technology into a problem, right? It's like you're trying to find the problem for blockchain, right? So anyways, these three questions I like to ask businesses, and I think gets the gears turning. So reasons why you may want it, right? The first question is if the data that I collect is corrupt, do people or businesses suffer, right? And maybe not personal suffering, but business suffering, monetary suffering, anything that is a negative effect, right? The second is, does anybody have incentives to destroy or change the data my business is based upon? So this could be competitors, hackers, anybody that is out there. And the third is, does my business depend on others trusting my data, right? So, if you can answer no to all three of those, awesome. You're in a good space. You don't need to worry about it. You're fine. But a lot of the technologies that I'll talk about later, and certainly all the ones that everybody else will talk about, you could look back at those three questions and answer yes to at least one of those. So yeah, I wanted to start with that, get people thinking a little bit. Maybe you're in business or you work for one, think about those questions and really try to answer those to yourself. So then, I don't know how you guys want to go from here. I know we had some notes, so I'll pass it back.
So I'll add on to that too. And another big thing is, through these whole years of this blockchain revolution, there's been a lot of hype and a lot of promises and a lot of hopium where they pump up different niches that actually don't even need blockchain. But we're going to get into the real use cases that for different industries that doesn't revolve around hopium or unnecessarities. So to get started, Token, is there anything you wanted to add before we move on to the next topic?
No, I think we should just move straight to it. Retail is the first one we're going over, right?
Nathan, is that
Nope, I'll chime in here. That sounds great. So the only other thing that I would add to my previous point is the more and more I think about suppliers and customers, ultimately businesses that may need these solutions. I quickly want to throw a 5-point kind of a framework that I utilize for talking about blockchain. And then I'll jump straight into some examples that I've seen in the real world. So you want to use, you want your solution to offer some form of detection. And also these 5 points, it could be any one of them, doesn't have to check every box. But you'll see in these future examples, they all tie back and it would check at least one of these boxes. The other is verification. So you need to have verifiability of the data, because yes, you can detect it, but if it's garbage in, it's garbage out, as they say. So you need to verify that the data is still in the same form that it was when it was put into the storage. It needs to offer resolution. So that can be automated resolution through smart contracts. It needs to be traceable. So, track and trace is a big term that people talk about in practical supply chain. You need to be able to trace it back to where it came from, which there's a broad term called provenance that people talk about quite a bit. And that's it, really, being able to say that it came from this location and drill it all the way back to where it came from. And the other is data analytics. It's not necessary to analyze data to have blockchain, of course, but if you have verifiable data, now you have real results from that analysis, right? The common data term I already said is garbage in, garbage out. You can analyze all day long on this data, and you're gonna get incorrect results, incorrect outcomes on whatever it is you're looking at if the data has been changed, right? So it all comes back to that, those 5 points. And what I'll do is I'll jump into the first example, and then I'll pause and let you chime in. Anybody, Token, Citizen, talk about any points you might have. But
did you want to start with industrial? Do you want to start off with industrial and the Internet of Things before we hop into retail? Or
sure, yeah, no, I'm fine with dancing around as we go.
Okay, sounds good.
So industrial. So that's just so everybody knows, that's kind of my space. I'm I guess an electrical engineer by trade. But I do a lot in industrial automation, robotics, industrial data, SCADA systems, large scale enterprise manufacturing solutions, stuff like that. So this is where my mind goes first, although I'm really expanding it as I go because I'm seeing endless possibilities. But yeah, so in the industrial space, there's so many uses for blockchain or DLTs. Likely more DLT than anything. And I probably don't need to tell anybody here, but I'll quickly highlight the fact that a DLT distributed ledger technology it's not the same as blockchain. They're used interchangeably, but it is often more of a permissioned, privatized blockchain. Not all the time, but it's sort of a reduced version, scaled back, quicker often, and private, right? So you could see why industrial applications may be more inclined to lean towards that sort of model. But where I'm seeing it a lot in industry is you have these machines that already have a massive amount of data, right? I've been to General Motors. I worked there for a while. I've been to Boeing, massive, places with a huge amount of data. And that data is just pretty much sitting there. They're storing it maybe at best. Often they're not even doing that. So they're not getting any value from that huge amount of data. And we'll talk a little bit about supply chain and even retail space and even everything that is talked about beyond what I'll say. It all kind of comes back to the fact that you need data to make value. You need you need the value chain, as they call it, as opposed to the supply chain. And I see a lot of opportunity in the industrial space to pull that data that you already have and push it up a couple levels into a mutual, a consortium of other businesses that could, benefit from the fact that it's immutable, trusted, and get the benefits of that system. One of the examples that I like to think about, and I've seen it in an application, I've been talking to somebody about it, but customer certifications. So what I mean by that is if somebody certifies their food, say halal, or certified gluten-free, certified, source sustainably, all these marketing things at this point. There's not often a way of actually certifying that was done. But if you're manufacturing a product, there's an opportunity to capture that metadata that you already have and build a picture and put that, as long as you're doing it correct, put it on a DLT. And now all of a sudden you're able to be seen by these certifying bodies as certifying in live time, which is beyond what it is now. That's beyond comprehension. They're doing inspections maybe once a year at best, these regulators. So I see a lot of promise there. And I could go down a rabbit hole, but I'll stop there and I'll let anybody else chime in.
Yeah, I great points. And if you guys don't know what data is, when we're talking about the industrial supply chain, you have picture a factory. I'm going to post a picture here shortly. But if you picture a factory, you have all these sensors, you have all these devices, all these machines that are putting in work. And if you attach a sensor to it that connects to the Internet of Things, that can collect data, which can be seen by a computer. So you can have a complete overview of the processes in your factory to see what needs maintenance, what needs attention, where are there flaws in your supply chain. So it's this data that's being generated. If you can collect it and use it to make business decisions, that is a whole new way of new outlook for these owners, because now you can take a look at your whole supply chain. You can see where the flaws are. You can see where it needs improvement. and you can make decisions based on actual data that's being collected from devices.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I probably should have been a little bit more explicit there. Being that it is my field, it's sometimes I glaze over it. But the only thing I would add to that is the automated machinery that I was talking about that exists. It's already there. It's been around for a long time, and that's robotic arms, that's automated machinery, that's building cars, that's washing down lettuce, and now I can measure the listeria content in the water and self-certify the fact that it's healthy. But yeah, so you're right. It's additional sensors, but it's also the existing infrastructure as well, which is even more powerful because they don't even need to invest in any more, physical hardware a lot of the time.
Great point.
Sorry.
I just shared. I just want to tell everyone, look in the chat here. You can see I shared some
what we were talking about, the IoT sensors and the robotic arms and just stuff like that, so you can sort of visualize what it looks like to collect data.
Just some of the things. These are just a fraction of the things, but okay, go on there, Nathan. I think we're on a good topic. I think everyone's liking this. I hope.
Yeah, hopefully they're not bored to tears yet. So I'll hop over to IoT. I know a lot of people talk about like Industry 4.0. We probably shouldn't try to define that because it's very debatable. But I think IoT and industrial IoT, which is a term people use, IIoT, is a little bit more easy to define. At least for me, the interconnectivity of assets, being able to communicate with themselves amongst the network and to the internet in no particular order. There's no centralization to it. So it is well suited, I think, to blockchain, especially on the device level. And fortunately, there's a couple blockchain solutions that I've been building on that are well suited for IoT. In fact, they were built for it. So yeah, I think, much like you said, there's a lot of benefit of having sensors push their data in industry into the blockchain. But there's even more benefit, or at least there's more broad benefit for IoT in general, because it's everything else and some, there's even some in industry, but, you could, and I've seen them through Helium. They have a neat little device that they support, Helium, the blockchain, which I'll talk a bit more later about the tech that I've developed on. But it actually monitors the position in the physical world of a package, right? So you could actually send a physical package, and when it is being moved along, roads and everything in a city, you can actually see where it is, right? And then when somebody opens up the package, you get a notification saying, hey, it's been opened, right? And then they have a business model where you send that back. And it's, in my opinion, it's pretty solid, especially for high value product. And now all of a sudden you have a way as a retailer there's, I don't know if you guys are familiar, but, maybe you've seen it or had it happen to yourself, but there's a massive financial burden of return fraud. And there's a whole section of something called did not arrive. Hey, I didn't actually get my package, or, it came busted, or it came to somebody else. There's all of these things that people are making up, and there's no confirmation that it happened in any other way, right? And it costs billions of dollars every year, just in the United States alone. So now with a very simple addition, relatively cheap, all of a sudden you have the ability of closing that loop. And if you can have that data going into an immutable, DLT, or you could even utilize, some public blockchain like IOTA or Helium or something like that. Now you have a timestamp of it, fingerprinted on the ledger, and you're wrapping that into your business, saving money, and actually helping your customers, because now you're able to charge them less. You're not having to eat the billions of dollars a year of these costs of fraud. So that's just a little practical example. There's many others, measuring of process values, water quality, carbon, usage based on power. There's so many examples, but I really wanted to make sure I covered a couple, because I know a lot of people, when they talk about a topic like this, they say, yeah, it's everything, but they don't give you any examples. So I think that's important to really to dive in, and then people are like, okay, yeah, I get it.
Yeah, exactly. And now everyone also, I posted just a picture of some
different sensors just to show you how small these sensors can actually be to collect data, to communicate with the Internet of Things. And it's crazy. Another example that I like to use is power lines. So in transformers along these huge power lines, you could put a little IoT sensor in it, in every transformer that's along the power line. And if you ever have a failure, you can instantly see at what kilometer along that power line. So if it's through the mountains or whatever, and say a transformer blows up and you're like, well, where's the fault? Well, you look at your Internet of Things sensors and it can tell you exactly which one went down or which ones are having problems. And so it's like you can literally attach a sensor to anything that can communicate data back to your hub, your central point, and you can know, like you said, the processes, the temperature. You can know whatever piece of information that you want to know. You can get that information from just attaching a tiny little sensor that is connecting to the internet. And that is what the Internet of Things is. It's literally devices that can talk to other devices and can communicate information between each other.
Yep, that's a good summary. And then the only thing I would highlight too is, going back to those three questions, ensure that you need blockchain. You don't always need blockchain with IoT. I've got a pretty decent smart home, and I don't need every single thing on the blockchain. But it certainly does apply when it comes into business, and, it impacts your bottom line. So yeah, just trying to make that distinction. And that's why I started with those questions, right? Because as much as I'm waving the blockchain flag, it's not always right. So the other thing, unless there's anything else, I was going to jump into supply chain. Is there anything else you want to say?
Let's just see what I seen. Vin requested here, so I think he might have something to say on the topic. So we'll bring him up and just see what he has. Vin, you're on if you can hear us.
Oh, thank you so much. Hey, first of all, thanks for coming on. This is the first time that I heard of Ascend Data Tech, and believe me, you're not boring us to tears. I mean, we're all doing this every day, trying to gain as much information as possible. So I noticed that your platform is on Hyperledger and that you launched on Hyperledger. Is there any particular reason? Was it just opportunity or the availability of the IoT and its already working phase versus, say, Constellation? Because a lot of the things that you're talking about seem to be aligning with the full data type in IoT incorporation that Constellation network would provide, as well as Helium with the LoRaWAN. Thank you.
Perfect. Yeah. So great points. I appreciate the fact that I'm not boring you guys. And yeah, no, I agree with your points, completely. The thing that I would say though, being that I've been in the industrial space for a while, I've sold huge data systems to large scale manufacturers. I would say there's a distinction here to make. One is, the startup or the small scale company that has the need for IoT. And then I agree. I think that they're going to be game. They're going to be agile. They're going to be probably appreciating the cool factor and the security of using something like that or Helium. But for me, I would say the reason why I've gone a little bit more on the Hyperledger, at least lately, is because I don't see a very easy transition for huge companies to go from their current process into a network like that. And to get a tiny bit technical, Hyperledger at its foundation is using like a CouchDB, so a standard database. So it's actually relatively straightforward to integrate into their already existing, many decade old and many billions of dollars invested, that interface. It's an easier sell on the technical level. And it's also a little bit more, it's certainly more private. It isn't dependent on a token of varying value. So I think they're likely to find it a little bit more safe. That's debatable, but just from a business level, that's what people think. And ultimately what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to build on the technologies that I think people are going to get into first. And I think in the huge industrial scale, it's likely to be more of a DLT privatized. But I'm also aware, of course, that, in the IoT space and the other, I develop in IOTA, Helium, and Hyperledger. So, I'm aware of the benefits of public, but that's why I chose Hyperledger in particular.
That's perfect. I really appreciate that, and I can see from the enterprise level, all of the companies, wanting to wade in the waters before really jumping in. As retail gets more involved and we're filling data gaps, where do you see us finding the greatest opportunities as far as incorporating our ability to do that, and then also placing as many sensors around of many different types to fill those data gaps?
Okay, so sorry, I want to make sure I understood the question there. You're asking what is the greatest opportunity right now in developing, or?
Developing from the retail aspect as far as, monetizing retail integration, meaning, us filling data gaps for enterprises, or where do you see the end game of the monetization of building the network with the most amount of accuracy, with the most amount of sensors possible?
Right. Okay. No, that makes sense. So I'll likely kind of blend the two questions, but ultimately, companies really only invest in things for very simple reasons. They're either going to make more money, they're going to save money, or they have to. So either regulators are telling them, I need to do it, and you do it because you have to. You're going to add more value to your product and therefore make more money, or you're going to save money. I've spent quite a bit of time thinking about the retail space. I haven't got to it in the examples, but may as well hop into it a tiny bit. But there's a ton of issues with fraud. That's one of the biggest things. Anti-fraud, counterfeiting is a huge thing in the retail space. And ultimately, I think the biggest play at this point is more likely than not, it's the saving the money aspect. As I said, there's billions of dollars that is spent on issues, right? From the resolution of it to the identification of it in the first place, to the fact that people are not sharing information. Businesses are not sharing information about the criminals and their network, right? Whereas if they shared information, they could quickly identify it. And if we create a proper DLT, they won't be afraid to share information, right? So you asked specifically about the sensors. So I'll jump into that in a second, but I think the retail space as a whole is ripe for automation and innovation, not just in the sensing, but in the underlying architecture of how they do things, all the way from how they track information internally how they interface with outside competition, how they interface with their customers, right? A basic example is something along the lines of an NFT as a receipt, as a soft receipt. It could be physical, tied to an NFT, but now all of a sudden you remove the issue of receipt fraud. You can have somebody, you can immediately know when they're trying to do some form of fraudulent behavior if you track the physical device using some form of onboard sensing alongside a hashed some sort of entry into a ledger. So then to quickly jump back to the sensors, you could do anything from monitoring of shipments to help with counterfeit. You could look at your shipment and see it's coming from a totally different place than you thought. And this element of your larger product that you're purchasing, I would focus as well as on track and trace. So, RFID, QR codes, some form of unique identification using maybe some proprietary ink that can, only be used once or is hard to counterfeit. And I think it all is contingent on currently saving them money. So that's what I would focus on, right? Think about what costs them the most, what's the biggest, pain in their ass, really, and try to give them real solutions, because that's going to be the thing they invest in first before they invest in all of the other things that I mentioned.
That's amazing. And I'm going to drop down and thank you so much, Tokenizer and Citizen and SN for coming on today. That really shows a big picture of what we're getting into in the next decade and more. Thank you.
Cheers, man. We just got one more before moving on here, and then we're going to continue with our script here. XRP here.
This is
welcome, XRP. Welcome.
Thank you. I want to say thank you for Nathan ADT for your feedback. One of the great things I value is your value and understanding and sharing the idea of sensors. One of my first roles out of undergrad was as a CFO level at a seafood processing plant, and I was in charge of the CFO calculating the data off of water seepage off of fish, and I'm not building up SAP in any means on this conversation, but that was several years ago now. And I saw a 15% gain on revenue that was, I'll just say, millions. And the incremental savings to a business that's got 600 to 700 employees can be pretty drastic. So I'm saying never underestimate that. And sensors doesn't just apply to industrial applications, in my opinion. It can apply to retail. It can relate to services, phone calls, all data. And I value and I also, since I've gone to engineering school, and I understand the software side of it, just to balance it out. But as a result of that knowledge, though, as I tell people, I own a business and I have several friends that are in business as well. And it's not about today, it's about the future. What cost do we have to reinvent the business wheel to get the most value out of the supply chain? But I just wanted to add to that. Thank you for all you're contributing to the space and what you contribute in the future.
Cheers, man. That's great. Thanks for
thank you for that. The only point I would make there to add to that is it's interesting that you say the seafood processing. The current role that I'm at in my day job, because I haven't been able to do this full time yet, but is industrial automation. I lead a team and have built up that department of the business, but I'm in Nova Scotia, Canada. So we do a lot of work in the seafood space and the lobster space and sea cucumber and fish. So I know all about that. And I spend a lot of time trying to help identify incremental gains that, as you said, can be on the order of millions of dollars a year. So I agree. You can't underestimate the small things when they're incrementally able to add up to such a large value. So thank you for adding those points. Perfect. All right. Well, I guess we want to jump into supply chain.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's hop
into supply chain here.
Sweet. Sounds good. So this is a big topic for a lot of people. I don't know how much people physically have been impacted by it. Every single company I talk to has been hugely impacted by supply chain shortages, lead time issues, just a whole bunch of things that COVID has highlighted. It really has made us appreciate how very much dependent we are on international trade. I should say Canada, but I'm sure everybody listening is in a similar boat. We do not domestically, create enough to be sustainable. Right? We rely a lot on the rest of the world, and we're really seeing how much of an issue that is right now. So I am talking about worldwide supply chain, but the same thing applies at every scale. So we're seeing huge issues. I don't know a ton about the highest level things that I know the other two people on the call do. So I'll talk to what I know. But of course, one of the big things about supply chain and interfacing into DLT is, as I mentioned, provenance is a big thing. So knowing where something came from for absolute certainty, and of course tracking that along the way in a public or private blockchain, depending on the system, that adds a ton of value to anybody who may look at that in the future. And it should also be appreciated that, at least in my space, in the manufacturing space, for example, a car is made up of many parts, and a lot of those parts were not manufactured by the person who is building it, right? It's a huge amount of interconnected people that are supplying assets to this one thing that you then package and create a product for. But you should be, and you are, very heavily motivated to know the fact that each one of those individual components was made correctly. It was made where you said, I want to know the quality inspection. I want all of that information, but I want to be confident in it. So that's kind of a good low level example of, wanting provenance and accuracy in supply chain data. But it goes all the way up to the top, right? Even between countries, you want the same thing, but it's easier for me to picture what I just said. One of the other big things that, huge benefit is the reduction in admin and legal costs through dispute resolution. So through smart contracts, you can, bake rules into supply chain, logistical contracts, in which when I get X, I give you Y, right? I pay you this. And if this happens by this, then I pay you this much extra. It's all kind of what we say as humans when we make a deal. But if you put it in software and you make it absolute, then it just happens. There's no questions, right? And it's immutably stored and verifiable. So you don't need nearly as much, and ideally not really any, after the contract is built anyways, legal experience or legal expertise, I should say, in negotiating these disputes. And then admin would go down drastically, right? All of those back and forth emails and, shipping units being held up because they're waiting on this much money. And then it's like, well, I don't want to pay you because you said you would be here then. And that's part of the reason why shipping containers are weeks behind right now, because there's all these disputes and confusion and all of these, inefficiencies in that part of the supply chain. So yeah, I would say those are the two, the big ones that I think people can point to. I don't know if anybody wants to add any more to maybe the higher level stuff, but that's where I see it.
Great points. And, you know, a lot of us in here today, we don't think about much outside of our hometown. We order something from Amazon, but we don't think about the supply chain and how backlogged it is and how slow it is. Because I did a couple videos on this. If you guys see my YouTube channel, you want to learn more. But quickly to sum it up, you have these container ships, these cargo ships that are literally stuck in ports for 3 to 4 weeks before they can unload, because there's a shipping crisis going on right now. And that is one of the major contributors to that, is, like he said, the points he said, but also paper in the supply chain. You got these ships that have hundreds and hundreds of containers on it, and they all are tracked with paper invoices. And these invoices, I'm going to share some things here in the top post, but with paper gets damaged, has to be verified by a human, paper is slow. Sometimes these invoices that are settling between businesses, since it's all in paper, it takes 10 to 14 days to settle a transaction. And that is just for the paper transaction to settle. And I just put in the top here that you guys can see some problems with paper and trade finance. So another big thing about paper in the supply chain is there's no tracking of it. So you have a shipment leaving China coming all the way to Canada here, and with paper you don't know where, you don't have visibility to see where this shipment is in its life cycle. So, but if you use digital documents, for example, and a digital document, there's many benefits to digital documents, because now you can attach a digital document to a QR code. And so now anytime it moves between ports, you can have where they just scan the QR code and boom, pulls up the information. It's verified on a blockchain. You can see if there's any edits made to it previously. And every time that document moves hands, it's scanned to a new QR code. If another person puts in information, adds to it, it shows the timestamp that they did that. And guess what? There's no more human intervention for slow paper processes. So this is going to free up billions of dollars in global trade. And but yeah, so now it's creating a digital twin for that shipment all the way to Canada. And you can see, you say, hey, it's been 10 days. Where is my shipment? You pull up the blockchain data and you can see, oh, the container is on a ship in the middle of the sea, or hey, the container just reached the port. And there is no more of these days waiting, because you now have these digitalized invoices, which are called DDocs. And and so also I'm going to find the picture here, but data points. People don't realize if you write you got on an invoice, on a paper invoice, you have over 200 plus data points. And if it's on paper, a computer doesn't pick that up. An AI can't pull that up. A person has to scan it, and hopefully the writing is illegible, and it's not auditable. But as soon as you have digital documents and you have jurisdictions around the world using digital documents for global trade, you can get all the data points from these invoices. And I'm going to show you a picture here just so you guys can see how big that is, because you get all these data points from an invoice, and you can have AI sort through all that big data. So say you're a port inspector or something, and you want to say, hey, what's this company been shipping, or what have they been involved with? You can pull up the company's identifier number. You can search it in your computer, and it will pull up all the shipments that they've ever done, because it's all on digital documents. Digital documents pull all data information and create it as a searchable document. You can do like a control find and be able to pull whatever information you can from it. So that's another big thing for supply chain, is I want to add on, is there's 99% of global trade is paper. And that is a problem. And that is why that is one big problem, because it's causing a lot of these delays, verify, loss of documents, et cetera, et cetera. Just wanted to throw that in there if anyone else wants to add on.
Yeah, I think that's a really, really good point. I think one of those three questions, I think I need to add one, which is, are you using paper for your process? Because you're not wrong about that at all. I didn't realize supply chain at that level was that much paper. That's quite surprising to me. But I see that as I see that as an opportunity because now you get to skip the step that you would have done digitizing and go straight to digitizing and blockchain, which is nice, right? You don't need to go through all the other steps that everybody else had to.
Yeah, exactly. And another thing here. Just one sec. I'm sharing this right now, guys. So take a look. You can see all the data points from one invoice, and it changes hands up to 200 times through a life cycle of a transaction. And a fun fact, as a regulated fun fact can get, is paper is more expensive than moving the container, a part of the shipment. So paper is a bigger expense than moving the physical containers themselves. And on a global scale, this is from a document that I read, G7, creating a modern digital trade ecosystem. And it's about cutting the cost of complexity of trade. And it was all talking about the digitalization of documents. But right here, I'm going to read this to you. Paperless trade will reduce the cost and complexity of trade and tackle 50% of the global $1.7 trillion trade finance asset gap. And it will eliminate 4 billion trade documents a year. So if you stacked all the trade documents in a year, you'd have 4 billion documents. They would stack 520,000 meters high. And that will constitute approximately 500,000 trees. So paperless trade will reduce carbon footprint and will also promote more sustainable working practices. So here we are. The world's going through digitalization of global systems, whether it's trade finance, supply chain, industries worldwide are going through this digitalization process. And that's why it's important that, we're all here. Instead of talking about mainstream garbage, we're talking about the real utility of blockchain technology. So I just thought I'd leave you guys with that fact. Any other things or questions?
No, I just want to add on to that, like how you brought up how blockchain could help so much with not cutting down so many trees, I guess, through digitizing documents, since pretty much all the documents in the supply chain industry are on paper today. People talk so much about how, I guess, in mainstream media, when you think blockchain, you think Bitcoin, and what you think of then is energy pollution, right? But if you really look at the actual industrial and utility parts of this space, you begin to realize that it goes so much beyond just alternative currencies, but it goes into these other parts of our microeconomy where it not only helps with pollution and stuff, but helps just go about our daily lives in the background and infrastructure side of things.
Yeah, very, very good points. There's more to the industry than just proof of work and energy wasting cryptocurrencies. If you really dig down and you look into blockchain technology and DLT, there are real use cases that are changing industries. Is there anything else you wanted to add, Nathan, about the supply chain topic, or do you think we covered it?
We could go into a lot more detail, so I think we'll leave it at that and just let people use their imagination on other applications they could think about, and of course, do some more reading. There's a lot of literature out there, so.
Totally. Spend the hours, guys. Like, it's not something that you spend 20 minutes and you're like, oh, I'm a blockchain expert. No, keep always researching, keep building those seeds of information, and keep learning. I see we have one question. We'll get Exxon on here up really quick, and then we'll move on to because we are running out of time here for Nathan. So Exxon on, here we go, add a speaker. Welcome. The mic is on you, friend.
Yeah, my mic cut off for a second. I didn't hear you guys. How you guys doing?
Good. How about you?
Good. Just listening to you guys talk about supply chain management. What's your guys' takes on Vechain?
So we were actually we actually had this put down in our notes, and citizens, do you think we have a bit of time to just briefly go over Vechain in regards to the supply chain industry?
Yeah, just quickly, Vechain, I think, is a powerful supply chain project. They are partnered with Walmart China, and it's they can use sensors. They use sensors, and it's all tracked on the blockchain. Where you have a product in Walmart or from Walmart China from the manufacturer, it gets attached to the blockchain, and all the way to retail use. So say you're in the Walmart store and you pick up this product, and all you do is you scan a QR code, and it pulls up the history when it left the manufacturer and all the stops that it made. And another cool thing about IoT sensors in the supply chain is, say you have meat, say you have things that need to be at a certain temperature that need to like if it goes over that temperature, it can spoil or go bad. Well, that's where these sensors come in, is all that data can be tracked with that package along the supply chain all the way to the retail end user, where they just scan the QR code that's on the product, and it pulls up all the information, whether it's temperature, storage, the timestamps of each stop, vice versa, whatever information you need, you can have a sensor for that, attach it to there, and it's all attached to a blockchain, which can settle flawlessly, cheaply, instantly. And yeah, so that's my take on Vechain.
Yeah, no, sorry, what were you going to say, Anand?
Yeah, so with Vechain, they are utilizing it down here in South Africa. I know we have a bilateral agreement with Singapore, and then we have another agreement with PWC, and then our port of Durban has an agreement with them, and there's some major stuff going on with utilizing that technology for sea stuff, for the sea stuff that you guys were talking about. It was very interesting that you brought up those concepts.
Awesome. That's sweet. I didn't realize the Singapore agreement and Africa. That is really neat. I didn't realize that. So thanks for sharing and contributing. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, I knew Vechain was they're big in China. They're based in China, but I didn't it should go to show you that this technology is really beginning to evolve and flow. It's a global technology. It's flowing into these other jurisdictions that could utilize these solutions. And just to add on to Vechain generally, as both Citizens and Nathan were talking about earlier about how the food industry can be impacted by blockchain and DLT, Vechain just really adds on to that in the sense that, like Nathan was talking about with seafood and stuff, it tracks the whole process of how the food is managed and the quality and care of it. All right, yeah. Vechain's just one of the few projects in the space that are building for solutions to really help with the supply chain industry. Because as we've seen with COVID, it really just messed everything up with all the demand for online shopping and everything. Now, so our current supply chains, one, we don't have the manpower to handle it, but two, the whole processing and provenance of tracking all these packages, our current systems just can't handle it. And these networks like Vechain and Morpheus are both really working towards implementing blockchain and distributed ledger into it, because it's one of the many industries that would really benefit from getting real-time processing of where each item or transaction would be.
Yeah, good points. So I think we gotta, if that's okay with you, X and on, we gotta just move forward here, because I know Nathan's on a time strain here. So let's just get on a couple more information. Thanks for coming up, man. I appreciate it.
No problem.
Cheers. Okay, Nathan, let's move on to the next topic here.
Did you want to maybe go? Oh,
what? Okay, go on.
Oh, I was just asking, because we, just like in the notes we were writing, did you want to go over interoperability of these industrial blockchains for a little bit?
Let's just do that after Nathan's here, because I know he's got to leave here shortly.
Yeah, sounds good.
I just want to go over retail. So we covered a little bit of it, but Nathan, I think it would be good to go over some of those points that or did we already cover the increased brand trust and stuff like that? Nathan, what would you like to cover?
Sure. Yeah. So I think in a couple ways, I may have gone over retail. But one thing I'd like to do is add a couple points to what was just said there in the food industry, right?
Oh yeah, sounds great.
We'll add a little bit more context to that. So I see a ton of opportunity in kind of how inefficient the process is, at least here in Canada. And I think some people would be quite alarmed at how inaccurate things can be in the food industry, and they're okay with that. And by they, I mean the regulators. One thing I found fascinating is for some ingredients, for all ingredients, when you look at the side of a package and it says there's 100 grams of something, they actually only need to be plus or minus 20% of those values, and that's considered accurate. There's a few more things, like they don't actually need to list certain ingredients if they're under a certain amount or if they're part of another ingredient. And it's one thing I find kind of insane is, as a regulator, when you come in and you say, hey, show me the process and show me the ingredients going into this thing that you're manufacturing, you actually don't have to show them. All you need to do is show them the last report of what you're claiming you put in there. And that can be handwritten as well, which just that boggled my mind. So one thing that I foresee happening as consumers start to take hold of, okay, now I know where my stuff comes from. That's awesome. But now I want to know what's actually in it. I want to know that it is in fact made of all these parts, right? As people wake up to, nutritional limitations and dietary things, and it comes into, gluten-free and organic and things too, I guess. But the point is, there's going to be a time in which machines are going to be capable of sending out the data of, okay, I've put in this much of this product, this much of this, and if you do it properly and you program the machine correctly and you have the correct sensors, this is what I was talking about with self-certification. You can actually push out a report on each batch. And now the consumer can be confident that that label that they're seeing of the vitamins, the minerals, the elements, the ingredients isn't plus or minus 20%. It's because you've ensured your process is right. You're measuring it. You're not just the way they do it now is you have an inspector come maybe once, or probably more like every couple of years. Everything in between those inspections is at the confidence, or the what's the right word, is at the limitation of the supplier, right? You're just expecting it all to be the same for 2 years, right, or a year. So I think there's going to be a time in which those sensors and those processes can actually create a product that is verifiably correct and put it onto the blockchain. And now you have more consumer trust. You have less money through manufacturing, because now you can self-certify. You don't need regulators to be, bringing down production and all of those things when they're doing their inspection. And one of the other big things, probably the biggest actually, and I think if you guys are familiar with any form of blockchain, you probably have heard about it. But the ability of creating recalls that go from, there's an example of Walmart using Hyperledger that took a recall process from, I think, 7 days to about 2.2 seconds. And that just comes down to the fact that you captured the data throughout the entire process. It is immutably and verifiably stored. So the moment there's a recall, all you do is quickly analyze all of that metadata. Boom, there's your answer. This is where it came from. This is what the report was. This is the value that it had when it left. And you have taken that very messy, very impactful, right? People can die from food issues. You've taken that out of the equation because you're regulating and certifying your data as you go. That's a big one. And then if there is a recall, you identify it faster. you solve it quicker, and it's all better. It's kind of hard to emphasize that enough.
Well, yeah, like especially like when you think about it, you're pre-inspecting each, like, so that would be like a factory of the future, because they're pre-inspecting the products before they put in. They have all the information, all the data accessible by a computer. And say if there was like, hey, there's something wrong here, they could just pull up the information that was used to create this product, and they have it all right in front of them to make these decisions to, hey, there is a recall, and there is an exact number of how many products were affected. And yeah, so that's huge. And to think about that in the food industry, not many people really think, oh, how is it changing the food industry? And that are some great points, Nathan. Good job.
Perfect. Yeah, thank you very much. So I think that's likely everything that I wanted to cover. I think I just sent you a message there. I'm good for about another 10 minutes or so. So I'll try my best to not go on any more rants, and feel free to go on to whatever it is you want to talk about.
Okay, no, sounds good. Well, since he's got 10 minutes left, guys, let's just use this for a question period. I see we got XRP here. And just to let you guys know, Nathan here, I just got him on Twitter. His main business has been on LinkedIn. So if you guys like the information that he's been providing, give him a follow. Check out some of the blog posts we've shared throughout this. And yeah, so XRP, I'm going to get you up here, and we'll let you say something. And if anyone else has any questions for Nathan here on anything we've talked about, nothing too deep because we're limited on time, but feel free to put your hand up and come on up and contribute. Okay, XRP.
Hey, Nathan. Just want to share something for the whole. As the cost of labor goes up worldwide due to inflationary pressures, everything you're saying is real world. Incremental cost increases, and finding out exactly where you have to be more efficient at is going to be the lifeblood of any company in any industry anywhere in the world. So I just want to share that with you, that not only is it so important what you're talking about now, but 5 and 10 years from now, it's going to be even far, far more important how blockchain affects our daily lives, and frankly, the employees' daily lives of how things are done. Automation is going to increase and decrease employment in certain sectors, as well as it's going to create huge opportunities of employment in other sectors, just as the evolution of technology has done so. So I just wanted to say thank you for sharing that tidbit with the group. The great thing about, frankly, I believe the great thing about blockchain and having a finance/engineering background is that I never look at today. I always look 4 to 5 years, maybe 10 years out, in what I see happening, and having those seeds. As I tell people, always be a student mindset, always. Anyways, thanks for sharing.
Yeah, no, thank you. Interesting points. Couldn't agree more. I wrote a couple sort of white papers reviewing in the case that I think you would find it interesting. There's one, it's a little long, but it's all about how blockchain can help SMEs, so small to medium enterprise, and not only in all the points that I've made, but actually gaining a competitive edge, which is hugely important as we reshore and create more domestic product. We need to find better competitive advantages to compete with, organizations that can undercut us from a labor rate. We can't pay people less, because ultimately we need people to be sustainable and happy. So the only way of becoming competitive against countries like that is through, as you say, incremental improvements. So yeah, I would check it out on my website there. It's called Blockchain Integrated Supply Chain. You can download it straight from the main page there, and it actually touches on quite a few of the points that you made there. So thank you. I appreciate that.
Great. Awesome. Vin, I see you have a quick question here.
Yeah, quick question. I mean, this is massive. Like, this is the type of conversations we need to have. So what are the what's basically the pitch that you have to businesses to help your initiatives, and how can we help you, man?
Yeah, that's the golden question these days. Is all of us can see the future, but it's trying to get people to see it as well. So I don't know. I think we're all kind of in the information sharing phase of things. We're all, I would say, early adopters of this, revolutionary technology as far as it being practical, right? So let's just keep talking about it. Keep thinking about ideas. One thing I've noticed when I got in this space, the solution is easy. It's the problems that are hard, actually. And what I mean by that is you can go to a business and say you need blockchain, and we could all say that we agree upon that, but you need to identify the problem and solve it before anybody will buy in. It's just far too vague, and that's actually the hardest part. So keep on thinking about problems, absorb literature, and just come up with those ideas. And as far as helping me goes would be doing that. And then if anything comes up where you're like, oh man, I listened to that guy and he had some good points, or maybe you should talk to him about XYZ, the same thing I would do with any other company myself, feel free. That would be great. But ultimately, I'm and even Ascend Data Tech is beyond any one business. So I'm glad to be part of the community, and I just, let's all collaboratively, really just drive the technology ahead.
Great points, Nathan.
Awesome.
Yeah, and just keep like for everyone out here is keep building your knowledge. All like XRP said. Keep a learning mindset. Every day, learn something new. Always keep building. Don't ever think that you know everything, because that is when you stop learning. If you think you know everything, then you will miss a lot of opportunities in your life. And it's just about building knowledge, being open. Don't be a maximalist where it's like, oh, one cryptocurrency is going to rule them all. No. What is happening is we're going to get into the next topic here of interoperability between blockchains, but it's not just going to be one blockchain to rule them all. It is going to be a network of trusted networks, and that network of trusted networks is what is going to build the S&P 500 12th sector of the S&P 500, and it's going to be a regulated network of networks. And that's what I see in the years to come is all these networks, anything that has connections to traditional finance that is actually solving a real world problem is going to connect to these other DLT networks. And it's going to be just these networks of moving value and doing things to different industries. There is enough money in the world that multiple DLT networks can thrive and prosper. It's not just one. So, yeah, is there anything anyone else wanted to add before we move on to interoperability?
The only thing I would say is I do need to duck out. So I just wanted to thank you guys for having me on, and everybody for listening. This is a great platform. If you add me on Twitter, don't be alarmed by the fact that I have like 18 followers or something. I've only had it for less than 24 hours now. Feel free to, ping me on LinkedIn if you have it. I know that's a little bit of it seems kind of a weird platform, at least for the blockchain space. That's been my primary one so far, though. Feel free to reach out. Hit me up on the website. I'll also be releasing some YouTube videos, so I'll try to link those back to Twitter as well. So yeah, thanks guys. It's been great. Lots of fun. I look forward to doing it again. Actually, this is great stuff. So thank you.
Awesome. Yeah. So thank you, Nathan at Ascend Data Tech, for being a guest on our show here and producing some great topics of utility of DLT. And it's great to have your perspective. So big shout out to you, my friend. And thank you very much for coming on.
Awesome. Thank you guys.
Yeah, thanks again, man.
No worries.
Cheers.
All right.
Have a great day.
Cheers, guys.
Okay, guys. So the last thing here is we're going to cover two more quick topics, and then we're going to shut down the thing because we're running out of time. So we've got 15 minutes here. But
Just to go on interoperability of DLT networks, nobody really thinks about the interoperability because, they're all focused on the one network that they're involved in. And but when you think about it,
you can't send Bitcoin to an XRP address. You can't send Ethereum to a Bitcoin address. And that creates
it's these siloed networks, right? But one big solution, there's two interoperability solutions that we know from our research in the DLT markets, and that's Quant Network and XRP with Interledger Protocol. Well, Interledger Protocol uses XRP in the back end of their interoperability solution. But the one I wanted to really to bring awareness to, if you don't know about Quant, I'm going to share a thread here. But they provide a technology agnostic solution that can move value between any DLT network. And I like to call Quant the neurons to the brain of the DLT regulated internet of value. And it's a lot of big words there, but it's basically the connector. It will allow you to move value between any different blockchain or DLT network that's interoperable with Quant. Token, would you like to say anything while I find the thread I'm going to post in here?
I'm just going to check the thread out, but yeah, while we're on the topic of interoperability, I guess obviously we're going to go over Quant. It's what's really going to Nathan was talking about this a bit earlier in how since we've spent so many years building all these legacy systems that we still currently use today, even when we're beginning to build into the new age of blockchain and DLT already, but we're not just going to throw everything away and be like, okay, we're going to start over fresh in this blockchain space just because of all the hours of capital or all the amounts of capital and labor that we've had to put in. So Quant's going to be what allows us to bridge all these legacy systems into this new blockchain space.
Yeah, it's the merger. We're going to see in the next couple of years the merger between traditional finance and these nascent blockchain and DLT networks that have the connections with regulated networks. And so if you guys check out the thread here, I posted it in there. That is a picture I made to visualize the power of Quant. So you have all those different networks, and Quant is the connector that say, hey, if you're a traditional bank, and you want to connect to RippleNet, XRP, you want to connect to R3 Corda, Overledger, which is from Quant. Quant created the Overledger operating system. And Overledger is literally an operating system like Mac or iOS or whatever you want to call it, but with 3 lines of code. So say you picture all these traditional finance banks all over the world. They have fragmented, old, outdated systems, that are from the 1990s, and they're too cheap to actually upgrade all their computer systems. But what Overledger is they can put 3 lines of code in, and that 3 lines of code brings up this operating system that allows a bank to move value through these DLT networks. So whether it's XRP, they want to make a XRP payment, they can send XRP right from that operating system. And Quant is the token behind that to pay for fees. And they also have a side chain called QRC20, which can do layer 2 solutions for central bank digital currencies. They're a part of the Digital Pound Foundation. It's a very big sleeping giant. The mainstream media is unaware of it. So that's why we just like talking about it, to get that out there, to get you guys thinking about, because the main problem with the DLT ecosystem as a whole right now is interoperability. That is the main keyword. That is the main problem that everyone is trying to solve. And Quant is one of the main solutions. If you look at their team and who they're partnered with, it's a good deep dive.
Yeah, I see Anon's requested to speak. Do you want to just have him up here?
Yeah. Let's get him up here quickly here. Okay, Anon, let's get you on here, my friend. Anon, mic is on you, friend.
I'm going to jump in. I was going to say another DLT project, HBAR.
Yeah, that's HBAR's got a good regulated team, and I think they're going to go far because they got, cheap payments. The ecosystem is good. Yeah, so that's a good mention.
Yeah, and just on top of being a good layer one platform, Hedera's counseling service, I personally think really makes them too big to fail at this point. Having Google, IBM, Boeing, LG, all those guys on there, I really think let's say 5-10 years from now, that ecosystem is going to be very robust in the sense that there's going to be hundreds, if not thousands, of businesses building other applications on there, just because it's so all the services they offer are so well fit for everything we were talking about earlier in terms of supply chain, provenance, everything like that.
Yeah, one of our main branches down here in South Africa, banks called Standard Bank, they have been using Hedera Ashgraph. Then we have this new internet company that's from the government called Web Africa. They also are using Ashgraph, but they're not going to publicly announce it just yet because they don't want to get gaslit from the government, because the government and the military also has a contingency agreement with the US military, and they are secretly working on a major operation with Hedera Ashgraph.
Cool. That's awesome. Are you from Africa?
Yeah.
May I ask, have you heard of Mojaloop?
What, you got cut off, bro? What did you say again?
Have you heard of Mojaloop? MOJA Loop, and it's from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation.
Yeah. Yeah, they're doing some stuff with XRP as well.
Yeah, because I seen they're connecting the unbanked to the banking system using Mojaloop's software. Because I've never been to Africa, but I've heard that there's a lot of unincluded people in the financial system due to the fact of no banking infrastructure.
Yeah, there's a ton of people. If you go through that list with Mojaloop, I think there's also people from Deloitte that's working with this project. And also, when you talk about this XRP stuff, so my mom the other day messaged the bank. They had a phone call, and they currently are doing stuff within the bank where they're delaying processes and stuff like that because they're already ready to move into this new system. They have it already set up.
Yeah. I'm not a big fan of the slow banking system because it's really unfair to people in how expensive it is for one wire transfer. Here in Canada and America, it's, if we want to send money to Africa, it's $50 American, and it takes 5 to 10 business days to settle with no end-to-end tracking. And that's a huge amount of money because I don't know if you've ever done a bank wire transfer, but is it still $50 American out in Africa to send money to another country?
Yeah, it's crazy. I haven't done a while, but I've heard so much of feedback and how bad it is.
Yeah, that's, this is awesome that, we're getting straight up somebody from Africa confirming that how bad the payment system is through current legacy finance. And, so that just shows that technology like DLT that can settle instantaneously for fractions of a cent. And, I could send $5 if I wanted to for a fraction of a cent, compared to if I went to the bank, it's going to cost me, if I wanted to send, say, $10 to a relative, it's going to cost me $50, and it's going to take 5 to 10 business days to settle. So, thanks for contributing, Anon.
No problem. Yeah, last, I think it was September, where I literally stay, I'm watching these guys dig up the ground, and I'm thinking, what are these guys up to? And they're putting these fiber cables. Meanwhile, this whole internet infrastructure is being laid out for Hedera Ashgraph. Because it has such a secure internet infrastructure that it's very secure, and also the government has hired 10,000 employees to like digitize the whole economy from the year 1895. So documents from 1895 up until now are going to be like it's going to be digitized, but it's going to be through their Adera hashgraph platform. While we will have XRP and stuff, but that's going to be for our payment rails, because we also have SBI Africa, and our SBI Africa will be tied into SBI Japan, which will then open up that corridor and stuff like that. But for data infrastructure is Adera hashgraph.
Wow, that is really cool. Like, I didn't even know SBI had a Japan or an Africa version. I'm going to share you guys the research that I dug up on SBI Japan just to show you guys how big they are. But yeah, I agree. XRP is for payment rails and central bank digital currencies, micropayments. But yeah, HBAR is a powerhouse, and that's really awesome to hear that infrastructure is finally being built in Africa, because it's really not fair to your citizens that you don't have that major infrastructure. So yeah, that's really awesome. Thanks for contributing.
Yeah, it's really awesome to hear that. Because, yeah, down in Africa, it's still a developing country, but hearing that they're more open to adopting this blockchain and distributed ledger technology, I think it's really going to help them kind of move up the ladder in a sense in the coming years as they become more of, well, one of the pioneers in this space to adopt not only a digital currency, which is going to allow them to more freely trade across other borders, but also allow their citizens to easily send money back and forth. Just because as a developing country with lower wages than say your G20 nations, it's like if you're living in Canada or the US, for example, sending some money abroad and paying a $50 fee, yes, it does sound kind of rough, but at the end of the day, what's $50 in a first world country? Maybe like 3 hours of working at a minimum wage job, whereas in third world countries like these, $50 can literally be like a month's worth of salary.
Yeah. So Anon, could you just contribute how much the average minimum wage is in your town or city, just so to give people enlightenment on how much the pay difference is?
So your lowest salary you're looking at is $200
Is that a month or
a month.
Oh wow.
So
Oh my God.
Yeah, so a $50 fee to send money, that's 25% of your salary just gone.
Yeah.
That's like that's just sad to hear, because you think about families. So now think about families, and many families go to other countries to try and make more money to feed their families, but then to send money back, look at how much percentage it's taking. And that's the current problem with the legacy system, if you guys didn't know. And that's why these digital ledger technologies that can settle instantaneously and integrate with traditional finance is very important, because it will create. So like I like to say, we're going from the internet of information, where the internet was only meant for sending data. We're now moving to the internet of value, where we can now eliminate borders. We delete the borders, and we can send value securely and instantaneously and almost free to anywhere in the world. And that is the big thing. And one other question I had for you, Anon, have you seen digital currency adoption or being able to pay for digital currency with digital currencies in your town or anything like that?
Not as yet. Just the adoption phase has come out. Like we are accepting payments in certain currencies, but we have to get the difference here between accepting currencies as payment and currencies being adopted, because at the moment everyone goes around saying, okay, Bitcoin is accepted as payment, other cryptos, those are just being accepted as payments. And here, as you have the technology that's being adopted, so instead of looking so much to cryptos as being accepted as payment, look at how the government is adopting them.
Yeah,
Right.
definitely. And while we're on the topic of adopting digital currencies, maybe this is a bit of a controversial topic, but I want to kind of bring up the whole, I'm sure everyone's heard about Russia getting kicked out of SWIFT thing. I think this, I'm just going to start off by saying I don't support the war by any means. I don't think there should be violence and war in this day and age, but the whole Russia getting kicked off SWIFT thing, it really sounds like it's almost made for them to adopt a digital currency, kind of like how China's doing. And while this would kind of bring, I guess, digital currencies in a bad light towards, I guess, most of mainstream media, seeing that a country that's starting a war is adopting this digital currency thing that has already gotten so much slack for it in the past. I think this should more show as how powerful this technology is, to where there really isn't an intermediary that can just randomly cut you off because you're doing something they don't like, rather than seeing it as a currency used by a war criminal.
Yeah, 100%. And like, I don't agree with. There's two sides to every story, and there's people that support Russia. There's some people that support Ukraine, and I'm with, like, I don't think it's fair that Ukraine innocent people have to be attacked and all this shit go down. So that's why I put the Ukraine stuff in my my profile picture, just to show support. Because, but you know, another big thing is that I think about this Russia thing is Russia's obviously been planning sanctions. They know sanctions is what the U.S. is gonna pull on them. So I feel this is straight up from, you know, Russia's been collecting gold for the last 2 years, and RTVK, we'll get to you right after we finish talking here, because I seen you had a question. But the gold, so they've been collecting gold for 2 years, and now, you know, we see the digital yuan in China, and now Russia. So I feel that they've got some sort of digital system in the background that they're going to turn on here. Once the sanctions go in full force, they turn on this digital currency system that's outside of SWIFT that now can interoperate with China. And then this is where, because Putin has always talked, and if you watch videos, he's always laughed at the power the United States has over the global financial system with sanctions. And if you guys don't know what sanctions are, it's countries saying, hey, we're going to shut off the bank rails to your country so you can't take deposits or interact with anywhere else in the world. So Russia's always laughed at the United States, saying it's not fair that they get control over the whole global monetary system and they don't get attacked themselves. So I feel they built a system, and that we might see in the next year it turn on where they don't even care about the sanctions, and that this was just to get everybody learning about how broken SWIFT is and how broken the current traditional banking system is. And then we're going to start seeing the CBDCs turn on all over the world, where now value is being moved in digital currencies that doesn't even need SWIFT as an intermediary.
Yeah, I don't want to get too political in this point, but also country to be watching out for is Israel, and some links that could be going on with China, because the election, I think, was also rigged with some software, as well as the American elections. I don't want to go into like full detail because, you know, it'll get
It's
out
a
of
rabbit
hand.
hole. Yeah, it's a rabbit hole that nobody wants to hear about because it's just too much conspiracy and not enough facts. So let's just break off from this, and we'll get RTVRK. You could speak now, my friend. The mic is on you.
Perfect.
Welcome.
Thanks. Yeah, good to be amongst everybody here. First of all, it's written RTVRK, but it's pronounced artwork. I know it's a little bit confusing the first time you see it, but kind of wears on you after a while. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry.
I just want to. No worries, no worries. You're not the first, and I'm sure you're not going to be the last person to say it that way, so it's all good. I just wanted to kind of like take a left turn back into how blockchain is going to revolutionize industries, and kind of touch on what Tokenizer. I'm sorry if I'm butchering the name. It's ironic.
It's Tokenizer.
Perfect. It's ironic that I butchered your name right after I
I
corrected.
thought I thought the idea for your name was really creative, actually. But yeah,
Oh,
what were you
thank you
gonna
so much.
say?
Yeah, perfect. Thank you so much. No, so basically, I just want to give a little background as to where I'm coming from, and it's not really a shill. It's just to kind of put up the next topic that I'm going to say. So I'm basically, I've had 10 years experience with like humanitarian work, UNHCR, I mean the UN Refugee Agency, Doctors Without Borders, etc. I've worked in North Africa, East Africa, in the Middle East, and in places where people are outside of these banking systems, these transaction systems. And because I'm quite interested in the arts, I've always been involved in going to the local arts markets and the art shops. And I see these individuals who create these beautiful artworks being unable to kind of put them out into the global marketplace. So basically, what artwork we're doing is we're creating a network so that these individuals can actually have access through an application that we want to create that we're actually discussing, fundraising for it right now. So what it would do would be they would have the user interface and the user experience something as easy as Instagram that would link to their digital wallets, so that a global community could search for them, look at their things, and just they would be able to sell their artwork on a decentralized manner. So basically, what we're hoping to create is like artists move outside of the status quo and kind of be engaged in the global market. So we're hoping to kind of revolutionize the developing world's art market in that sense. So I think it could be interesting.
That is really awesome points, and I'm just thinking about that right now because if you think about, you know, people that are creating art to make money, but they can only sell it to their local area. But if you do that, like what you're doing, you create. That's where NFTs come into play, and they can now participate. So, like that's another big thing is these digital assets are part of a global ecosystem where you can participate now in global trade and not just in your own little local town, but you can actually sell things and have an income from the globe where now your art, like you said, you have a decentralized marketplace where people, say somebody in Africa, somebody that's in a third world country, if they're a great artist, they upload their imagery on there and they sell it to a global community. And then that can now they're participating in global trade. And that is why I think these decentralized tokens mean a hell of a lot, because it is now giving new revenues to people that don't have access to revenues in their local economy.
Yeah, and just to add on to because obviously, judging by your name, you're probably pretty passionate about the whole art space. And obviously, we've seen in crypto over the past year or so that the whole digital art thing has really taken off with NFTs and everything. And while a lot of that space is still, I guess, fairly speculative, being random, in my opinion, not the best pieces of art, I think long term it's really going to do well, because with this technology, artists really have the ability to globally distribute their work and make it so that it's more than just like something you locally do and present. Because most times if you do an artwork, chances are it's not going to gain the amount of traction it deserves, versus if you were to digitally tokenize that and make it so that it's something anyone in the world can witness.
Exactly. So what we want to do right now is what we are actually doing right now, is we're through the connections that we've made through the work that we've engaged in our previous employments. We have connections with art hubs and art communities and organizations and grassroots organizations in countries like Sudan and in Turkey. And we're working to create bridges and connections and real life physical networks and digital workshops between the two countries, between and NFT artists in Canada as well. So we want to have information exchanges, and that's where the network comes in. So we want to create a network first and then move it onto a digital platform to enable more individuals to come online. Because we really do think that if you provide a space for good art, then these individuals will be able to thrive. And to be perfectly honest, I mean, these apes, these punks and all these kind of things. We're not necessarily into it. I am an NFT artist myself, but I'm not here to shill any of that because I think that good art speaks for itself, and I think that individuals, if you create them if you give them a platform, they will be able to create good art, and people can identify that.
That was beautiful, man. Good art should speak for itself.
100%, man. Those are great words, and I think that's awesome. And yeah, so are you building on a specific platform, or are you building on a certain DLT, or just curious on how you guys are doing your platform?
Yeah, I mean, right now we're definitely in the early stages of that. So we haven't even begun the fundraising. We're kind of brainstorming on how we can go about the fundraising for the back end development of the application. It's going to cost us a pretty penny, and so we're thinking about that. But we want to develop an actual, just a native run-of-the-mill app, as truth be told, and create links to decentralized wallets so that there's a what is it, a POOP app? I'm not really the technical guy in this, so this is the wrong person to ask. But there's a PO app, I think, purchase order authorization links that would be conducted through the application, so that we would have no view of the exchange that will be happening on a decentralized level. So it's basically going to be just an app. Think about the user experience of Instagram, like I said, with the community capabilities of Discord, we're hoping, with the ease of connection with Twitter, with the ability to have in-app exchanges.
Awesome. Yeah, great. Sounds like you're on a good idea, man. And another cool thing, like, for example, I see all these people minting on Ethereum, and it's like, what the hell, man? Like, you're paying $70 to mint an NFT. You're paying $70 to transfer an NFT. And but then you see like HBAR, XDC Network's coming out with an NFT marketplace, and that where you can literally mint a photo off of your phone, you can mint it to the blockchain, and then you can upload it to the NFT marketplace, and there you go. Now you have but XDC fees are 0.0001 XDC, so it's a fraction of a cent, and it settles in 2 seconds. I absolutely hate Ethereum for. Sorry, anyone that loves Ethereum, but it's just because of the fees, and how, if you ever watched, or not watched, but there's a paper out there called Flashboys 2.0, and it talks about the gas fee arbitraging between the miners. So what the miners do, there's a bunch of these big bots, market makers, and they literally trade with themselves to up the mining, like the gas fees. So that's why you're seeing these huge gas fees at some points, is because there's a bunch of bots trading with each other, and that's increasing the gas fees. So anybody using the network is paying these high fees because of these these bots arbitraging with each other. And it's really sad that to see a system like that, and it just enriched the 1%. And people say, oh, Ethereum's moving to proof of stake, and that's going to solve it all. But proof of stake enriches the big bag holders, like the traditional finance markets. And that's what DLT is trying to get away from, to enrich the top 1%. So I just want to point that out there, because I don't agree with the fees. But that's just my opinion, so don't.
Yeah, exactly. We're actually working with one of the main NFT crews actually that we have. They're quite they're on the Tezos NFT market. So Hic et Nunc, they're quite prolific there. I'm not really necessarily at liberty to say who we're working with right now, because there's nothing official at current time. But so that's specifically the reason why we went with Tezos instead of people on OpenSea or Rarible, because we all know that Tezos is the artistic chain, and all these kind of things. So, but it's going to be, of course, the application is not going to be like block specific. It's going to be it's because it's going to be it's going to be 100% open. So
awesome.
Yeah,
great. Well, I keep building.
If there's one thing I could,
yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I was just going to say, we're still at the validation process for the fundraising, as I said. So, if there's one thing I can ask, if it sounds interesting, go to the website. There's a question that says interested. Just click yes. That's if you're interested, of course. So.
Okay. Cheers, man. Well, thanks.
Website is rtvrk.com.
Okay, sounds good, man. And so I guess we can finish this off. Is we've been talking about basically one of the other topics that we'll finish it off with is the creator economy. So Token was mentioning, we've been talking about NFTs. We're talking about creators, and well, what does blockchain and DLT do for these creators? And Token, do you want to mention about music or gaming?
Yeah, sure. Let's do it. So yeah, the whole entertainment industry, it's what's it made up of? It's creators, right? Creating content to entertain all of us. And this is one of the, I guess, more fun to learn sectors about blockchain and DLT, just because there's a lot of projects in this space that are working to further connect these, I guess you could call celebrities with us, and they're doing this through tokenizing the value of their of not just their income and equity. Well, yeah, income and equity, but for example, since we were talking about Hedera Hashgraph earlier, if anyone's an NBA fan, you might know of Spencer Dinwiddie. He's actually tokenized the future of his whole career by tokenizing the his salary and future contracts that he signs, but also he's made it so the community really gets a say in his actions. So it'll be things like, at the moment, it's like the community can vote and stake their tokens onto what shoes he may wear next game, and eventually it could lead to some bigger things like what team is he going to sign to next after his contract expires. And this doesn't just go into the sports world, but if you take, say a music artist, for example, if they tokenize their music videos, they can now be traded across their whole community, and they could fund if they have a concert, they can fund that all through the community, and the community would get things like exclusive access and maybe music leaks and maybe even a business pitch to them as rewards. And I guess you guys might be thinking, like, why would I fund my favorite artist? I'd ask you guys that, sorry, just one second.
So as we're talking about artists and
okay,
yeah, you want to continue?
Okay, yeah, I was saying, so why would people fund these artists? Well, one, you're getting things that are valuable to a community in return. Like, if you were a big fan of, let's say, Drake, for example, put a price on what a 1-hour studio session in Drake would be worth to that community. It'd be priceless. And it's these things about these communities that are really going to help drive the creator economy of this digital asset space into mass adoption by giving something people relate and enjoy being a community of.
Yeah, exactly. And to think about music labels and how much, okay, so picture this, you're an artist, your music label is taking, I don't know what, 20 or 30% off the top of your head. But if you have decentralized, like you release a song or a platform on a DLT network, you're now getting full profits compared to a music label that's, doing the exact same thing. Because if you launch a song on a distributed ledger, that can go global. And that's marketing for what a music agency is doing. So you're cutting out the third party that's marketing your stuff for you, and you're putting it out there, and it's going to save a lot of money. It's going to do a lot of things. And yeah, I think there's a big thing, especially, art, music. And then we talk about video game economies, and you can roll into that and say, you want to roll into, is there anything else you want to say on the music industry before I roll into that?
I'll just add on to the whole music industry thing. So, yeah, it was a great point how you brought up how these artists get, they barely get any of the profits. In fact, it's only, according to the Rolling Stones in 2018, only 12% of the whole revenue from the music industry actually make it back to the artists.
Yeah, and that's crazy.
I mean, they're the core of this whole creator economy, right? Like, without them, it doesn't exist.
Yeah, exactly.
Token, Are you trying to describe two companies that exist without saying the name of them?
Pardon?
Are you trying to describe two companies that already exist without saying the name of them? Because I can think of two that are solving both of those solutions that you're talking about.
Maybe.
Built on deck. I know Gallup Games is doing the music decentralized music platform as well. And what is it on DAG? Is it token economy or
There's
fan token?
fan token, and then there is GeoJam, which are on Hypergraph, and then there's I forget the name. The Hustle, which is incubated by Unison, which are all looking to solve these specific niches within the creator economy.
Awesome. Yeah, great mentions. So just rolling quick, we're going to end it here in 10 minutes because this is on our 2-hour mark. So we're just going to do a quick say about the gaming economy to put this into your brains. Is you think about video games, you think about people spending hundreds of hours playing a video game and they get nothing from it. They get skins, they get things that can be used in a game, and that's it. And then that person moves on from that video game and all their hard work is left behind. But you think about integrating NFTs, a non-fungible token, into items, into video games. And well, what does that do? And an NFT you could sell, you can transfer to another account. So say you're playing Call of Duty or you're playing some video game or whatever, you spend 3 hours, you find this item and it's a rare item. You're like, oh, sweet. And then you take this item, since it's an NFT, you can go to an NFT marketplace and you can sell that item. So say if it was the most legendary gun in the game or something that you got luck of the draw and you picked it up and you go onto that NFT marketplace, you can now sell that item for, say, $200. And if somebody buys that from you, you get $200 into your account for selling that item. And so now, if you think about the bigger picture in just that process of being able to transfer items between players, player to player, and selling, automatically trading through smart contracts and stuff like that, that brings in where people can now make money from playing video games. People, say you're in a third world country, you're playing video games, you're farming away, getting all these items, and then you're selling them. So you can now bring in a real world economy into a video game platform. And that is massive, because if you think about Fortnite I think did $5 billion in sales last year or something like that. And then if you add a layer, a tokenized ecosystem where players can trade with players, that is one of the biggest things you'll ever see. And now we're going to start seeing where this is actually happening. We got Fort that is partnered with Ripple and XRP. They use Interledger protocol and some other digital currencies. And they're integrating Gala Games. If you haven't heard of them, check them out. But they've literally got an NFT marketplace for things that you earn in the game, you could sell for real money. And this is where the video game ecosystem is going, and that's why it's huge. And it's mind-blowing, because if you think about it, you got, say all the players trade, say, $3 billion worth of value between each other. What happens if there's a million trades or a billion trades or whatever, and the company's taking 50 cents? If the company's taking 50 cents a trade, it's fucking that's a lot of new revenue that was never even existed before, just from a tokenized economy inside their video game. Is there anything anyone wants to add on that?
Yeah, I'll just add to the whole aspects of we're basically giving these items in game, which are NFTs, real value. And I'm sure everyone here has played video games at some point in their life. Just think about an online video game, how much is being transferred and transacted every single second. Now, if we give these items value, it's really no different from, let's say, the global trade industry, where constantly there's a buyer and a seller on one end 24/7, and it's going to be way more apparent in the gaming industry, because there's always someone on some part of the world that's going to be gaming. And So there's a lot of projects in the space that are looking to capitalize on the amount of value that's going to be transferred in this whole play to earn gaming metaverse space. It's really going to be one of those industries that I think really gets disrupted by blockchain and DLT, and we are going to see more adoption of this in the coming years than we have over the past 10 years of gaming that we've seen. Just because now it's already become seen less as an unproductive hobby to more of something that's either a just escape for people, or just there's people making money, millions, from gaming. And I actually just made a video about the whole value being distributed back into the gamers economy, if anyone wants to check it out. But to sum it up, it's basically just like we're really opening another financial, not exactly financial sector, but another sector that provides real value.
Totally.
Can I just-
It's just a.
Can I-
Go ahead.
Oh, so sorry. Yeah, I was just gonna say, this is not. It's a new phenomenon. It's a new way of approaching the issue. But as I recall, it just occurred to me that I'm sure we all remember World of Warcraft, and how there was an economy based in real life with individuals buying and selling items, and how quickly laws were passed in making this illegal. And it was illegal to buy and sell digital assets with fiat. I think we can recall this. So, I mean, if we make NFTs of what you were saying, it just bypasses these regulations, because these regulations essentially, as I think, as I can ponder, I guess, they're there to kind of regulate the taxation of these items. So because these companies couldn't tax these off-platform transactions, they advocated for the laws making them illegal, and NFTs would essentially just do away with that, and it'd be quite beautiful, if you ask me.
Yeah, like if they like, one of the biggest problems with in-game microtransactions were the fact that they couldn't be taxed, and obviously the government doesn't like that. But if you put everything on an immutable ledger, that whole problem goes away now. Like people who are in mainstream media saying, "Oh, blockchain's untraceable money," that's the most bullshit thing you could say about this space. It just screams like you haven't done any research whatsoever.
Totally. And just to add on to that, it's an immutable ledger, all transactions, and even the developers of the game could take out, like, say if a transaction was made, they can literally withhold the tax in your area or whatever to satisfy those tax requirements for the government, if need be, because it's on their ledger of account. And they can do that. And just to let you guys know, I just shared a deep dive into the Fort platform, just of all the stuff that I dug up on Fort and how they're revolutionizing video game ecosystems. And just for some more free research that you guys can look at it all in one place, other than just being like, oh, what's Fort? So.
Can I just say one thing? Thank you all for your time. I'm just gonna have to step out. I'm in Sweden right now, and it's getting close to 9 o'clock, and it's Monday tomorrow. So, you guys have an amazing energy over here. Thank you so much for the time, and wishing you all a pleasant Spaces journey. Thank you again.
Yeah,
thank you for
cheers,
joining
man.
us.
Yeah, thanks for contributing.
And thanks for all the points
take
you brought
care.
in too.
Have a great night. Okay, so to finish this off, guys, because we're going to be getting off here in 3 minutes, does anyone have any quick questions or anything you want to say? You want to come up and say thanks? You want to say whatever? Just put your hand up. We'll get you up here if anybody wants to contribute before we go.
Yeah, if anyone also has any other sectors they think blockchain and distributed ledgers could really disrupt, come up here and give us your thoughts and why you might think that.
No, well, as we're waiting for people here, just to contribute to the last thing we were talking about, is when we talk about now anyone can participate in a video game economy. It's not just people that are creating YouTube videos getting paid from YouTube. Literally any player can play to earn. Like, how crazy is that? Any player. So you have kids that are literally grinding away at playing video games when they're bored. They can make some sort of little revenue that can buy them a bike,
It could buy them something, you know. If they're good at a video game, it gives them the chance to actually it levels the playing field. It's not just for the ones that are in the limelight. If you're good and you're good at a video game and you're making money or whatever, it's bringing new revenue opportunities for citizens worldwide, and then that is exponential for what that can open up for people. So it seems like we are actually moving into a digitalized society where any value can be moved, vice versa. Does anyone have? Yeah, go on.
Oh no, I was just gonna add on and say it's a pretty crazy concept to think about, like how like we're really moving value within a video game now. Like if you told someone this 20 years ago, they would think you were absolutely fucking crazy, saying, "Oh, I can play this video game for 5-6 hours, grind some items out, and sell them for something of real value." Like there's gonna be future entrepreneurs that are just like that work within a gaming ecosystem, and not in terms of like developing the game, but literally playing the game and bringing value back to that gaming ecosystem.
Yeah, exactly.
We've got a speaker now, though, I think.
We got
regular dude.
Yeah, we got regular dude. What's up? Add a speaker. Here we go. Let's get him on here. Regular speaker, you got the mic, my friend. Or regular dude.
Yeah, I was busy thanking you guys for the space, but you guys just asked about any future applications for DLT and whatnot. For me, coming from a country like South Africa, where the government is pretty, you could almost say it's openly corrupt, I would say the biggest thing for me has, since actually getting into Bitcoin and the distributed ledger and everything, how basically all of the transactions are out there. One big thing that I've always kind of hoped for the future of DLT is basically kind of, I don't know if you could actually replace the government, but there is so much corruption in the policies and like how things are, like you'll see like laws and legislature being brought up and the reasoning behind it and things like that. And this is all about, we're basically living in a very information centric world. So it would, just to see how it disrupt the, what you call this, the corruption. I just really would like to see a point where us as citizens, even J. Cole once said something like this, where he was complaining about how we pay our taxes, but you don't really see where the money goes. So it would be just really nice for us having these cell phones, having this ability to basically have access to the information, and basically how government's been made into this, you could almost say like a secret society where they just do their own thing and we just listen and hear that, okay, they've done this and they've done that. We can't even link up the connections as to why certain things are being brought up and whatever. It would just be great to see that happening. Like basically governments are
agreed.
Like it's crazy, man. But anyway, that's my 2 cents just to close things with that.
I'd like to add on there, token here just quickly, is that's 100% correct. Is why can't citizens of countries have transparency into the government spending? You know, they're taking all our taxpayers' money, and we don't get to see the open books. So out here in Canada, our government's just as corrupt, but they cover it up because they have control over the mainstream media. They give bailouts to the mainstream media. Mainstream media only says positive stories. But in Canada here, a couple of years ago, they had a program that they literally lost track of $6 billion. They cannot provide receipts for industrial spending program that they did because all the governmental offices do not have a shared ledger of how they spend money. So you have offices in different parts of Ottawa here in Canada that do not communicate with each other on where they spent the money. And so $6 billion went missing, and they literally could not provide receipts to where it went. But, you know, if we were to get, say, the taxpayer's wallet, we take the taxpayer's wallet, we put it on a DLT, a distributed ledger, and we get to see every dollar and where it goes. So the money goes in. Well, guess what? The citizens get to see exactly on open ledger to where they sent the money. But guess what? we don't have power to say, hey, why aren't you guys on a blockchain? Why can't we, the citizens that are paying to fund your guys' spending, why can't we get to see it? Like, it's really not fair in that aspect. And I agree that it would be awesome to see government on a blockchain, and then even implementing a blockchain voting system where you get where it's an open source platform. Every person, every known citizen gets one vote. So you have a tally of all the live people that are paying taxes. They get this card in the mail, and they go vote, and it's tracked on a blockchain. So we get to see the voting results in real time. We know if it's been hacked or if it's been changed, and we know the exact amount of votes there are and there should be. Not none of this. Oh, did these all get printed? Oh, there's no transparency in the voting system either, and that is completely unfair. And that is why it's important, and I think those are great suggestions. And Token, if you like to add on anything, and then we'll close it off with that, because I think this is a great ending topic to put fuel in the fire of people's minds.
Yeah, I mean, to add on to that, all I was really going to say is there's a reason they're hiding all these transactions from us, right? They don't want to see what they're spending their money on.
Exactly. It's sad that, you know, we're all born into a system where we don't question how the system works. We just go do our own daily lives. We're working our job. We come home. We spend time with family. People watch entertainment, and they just say, "Oh, the government's doing all good stuff. They're protecting us." But then behind closed doors, they're printing endless amounts of money. They're spending endless amounts of money. The money goes into corrupt corporations and corrupt friends that enriches their friends, and we don't get to have transparency. So that's why, you know, digital ledger technology is a revolution, because it's giving open transparency to the people, to the citizens of the globe. Anyone can open up an open ledger and see, hey, how was this money spent? Hey, it was spent here, it was spent there, this is the time. And it can connect all the dots, but they don't want all the dots to be connected, because that means it exposes their corruption. It exposes their deep connections of how they funnel money to other things. And so it's going to be a long, and just to say, you know, this revolution's been going on for 10 years and or over 10 years. And it's just going to continue growing. This is a multi-decade thing.
Problem. I would really love to add something, but I think we're done for time. Can I just the one little
just add
thing?
something. Add the one thing.
You know what I really love about DLT is that more than anything, it's I don't want to say it's a giving. It's almost, this is why it almost seems like Bitcoin was created by aliens, man, because this thing is so powerful that it's as if it's saying we failed. Like, in a way, there's something about human psychology. The thing is, we are all humans. There are people in government, people everywhere. We are all fundamentally humans. The corruption, greed, these people are exactly like that. They are no different from the ordinary human. Where they have too much power. This is what we do when we have too much power. But when we are held accountable for our actions, then we won't do it. It's like that thing with that analogy that if you were given a ring that makes you invisible, would you commit crimes or not? Basically, these people are invisible to us. We've created them into idols and gods, in a sense, that they can do whatever and they can hide it with propaganda, with the news, with controlling the news, with the information we have. But now with the internet, people basically being able to communicate information.
Expose
exactly.
Yes, I agree.
But thank you guys, thank you so much for the space, man. It's nice to know I am not crazy, man, because now instead of just living in the small community where I'm from, or in South Africa where very few people have access to the information, but they're not, it's like they're just not there. It's just nice to know
they're not paying attention. They're not paying attention, and like that's why I try and share my research, to hope that there are deep thinkers out there that will actually put in the time to put these pieces together, because, you know, it's an untalked about thing. It's covered up from the mainstream media. So there's surface dwellers, and then there's deep divers like us. who are actually figuring out, you know, there's people that live on the surface that are eating the spoon-fed information from mainstream media and believe everything that they are told, and that the mainstream media is completely honest and truthful. And then there's people that have seen different things in the way it hides in the dark. And I'll just leave it at that. And I see one more speaker that I'm going to bring up here, and then we'll call it quits for everyone, since we're at the 2 hours and 8 minutes here. So add as speaker anonymous, welcome. And oh God, it's Adonimus. He's just connecting. Okay, you got the mic there, Andon.
Hey guys, just following on from what you were saying before about concealed decision making in government, check out a documentary on YouTube called The Spider's Web. Just wanted to chuck that in.
Ooh, sounds interesting. The Spider's Web, I love it. Another good documentary, if somebody really wants to go down a hole, is Money Changers. It was a documentary from 1996, and it was about the whole world's banking system starting in the 1600s, and how the central banking system started, and how it evolved, and how much power and corruption was behind some of these events in history that has empowered the rich banking families and stuff like that. And that's called the Money Changers. So there, we'll leave it off with that. Thank you for contributing, Andon. I am going to check that out, and it sounds very interesting, of the spider webs. So thank you all for attending, citizens of the future. I all consider you citizens of the future, because we're talking about things that are in the future, covered up, that the mainstream media isn't talking about. So cheers. I hope you all got some good value out of this. And Token, I'll pass it off to you to close it off. And cheers, everyone.
All right, yeah, thanks again, everyone, for hopping in and joining our space. We really enjoy doing these and just kind of further connecting with our community, talking about really the deeper parts of the space beyond just price action and everything. And we're going to continue doing this, seeing what we can bring every week, different topics, and how all these different networks are going to play towards our future economy together. But yeah,
exactly. And I just want to say, I just wanted to say before we end it off here, is, you know, if you guys support our content and you see stuff, retweet it, like it, and because it helps us fight the algorithm, because the algorithm you know, shoves it under a bus if it doesn't get the attention it deserves. And yeah, so keep spreading awareness, guys. Stick with the utility. Keep diving. Keep learning. Keep building. Keep staying positive. And don't ever think you're alone. And cheers, everyone.
Cheers.
Peace.
Peace.